Song 1, disc 2, if you're old enough to remember discs.
Color of the week, R.J. Fairfield. Right to the game. No, we probably go post some Luther Vandross.
That was hilarious.
What did R.J. say? Vontae, the more you talk, the more nervous I get. Come on, man. If you're nervous, go to church.
Vontae, the more you talk, the more you make me nervous.
You know, one guy who was never nervous, it was about that action. It was about that smoke. And he wanted to smoke, and he wanted to shine. He loved them some him. There's no doubt about it. But he told us to get your popcorn ready. And we got our popcorn ready, and this guy delivered. Every Sunday, Monday, Thursday, Saturday, you name it. It's Terrell Owens, Pro Football Hall of Famer. One of the best receivers to ever do it. I think top 2 is Jerry T.O., and you could argue with your mama about that. But nobody's better than him. Not Randy Moss, nobody. And T.O.'s here to break it down.
Completely
But first and foremost, we got the wine. And T.O., we're waiting on this wine, man. We're waiting on this wine. I know you got some special things happening. T.O., what's up, man? Welcome back to the Morning Roast.
Yep, man. Get your popcorn ready early this morning, man. These is pre-playoff vibes right now.
Let me start right here. That catch, obviously, you had a rough day that day in that wild card game against the Green Bay Packers. You know what that history, Niners and Packers, and all the faltering for the Niners leading up to that game. What did that catch do for you in terms of confidence building moving forward in your career?
Man, it did exponentially a lot of things, man. Just as you mentioned, just the confidence and again, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Essentially, kind of like some similarities of what the playoffs are like. You know what I mean? It's not really how you start, it's how you finish. If you look at some of the teams that are in the playoffs right now, they didn't start off particularly well, but voila, here they are. But back to me, man, it was kind of like a stepping stone to my career, stepping stool to stardom. Again, like I said, I put a lot of probably internal pressure on myself to try to go out there and do some great things that day. Obviously, my first experience in the playoffs, playing against a historic team, franchise, Hall of Fame quarterback in the Green Bay Packers. And man, I just wanted to go out there and play well. And sometimes things aren't always as you draw them up or how you visualize them, but you just got to stay the course.
Terrell Owens here on the Morning Roast on 95.7 The Game, courtesy of the Boxer and Girls and Guest Line. And we can't get enough of this highlight, T.O. I had tears of joy. You had tears of joy. Let's hear Matt and Summerall on the call.
Three-man rush, and Young stumbles on the way back and fires up the middle. Pass is caught by Owens. Owens made the catch. Oh, this is amazing.
Madden on the call. We get goosebumps whenever we see Madden and Summerall. When you hear that, because I got another cut for you with your former head coach and what he thought about the play and how you came to the sideline. Just when you hear that call, T.O., when you hear that call, what do you first think of?
Man, I immediately when I caught the pass, and I'm a man of faith. That's really kind of what drove me, and obviously to have a lot of the confidence that I have. You got to have faith not only in yourself, but you got to believe in a higher power. And immediately, my grandmama, everybody that knows me, they know my grandmama raised me, grew up in the church, and literally, like throughout the course of the game, I thought about her during that game. And immediately, when I caught the pass and fell to the ground, immediately out of my mouth was "Thank you, Jesus." And so I thought about my grandmama at that time. So again, when you think of a player. Sometimes a lot of people ask us, like, what's going on? What are you thinking about during the time? Do you hear the crowd? It's, some of those moments go through your head. You hear it for a second, and then everything goes silent. And so that's what happened. Everything went silent for a second because I saw the pass. I knew I had caught it, and I knew I caught it in between Darren Sharper and a couple of other guys. And I knew when I fell to the ground, like I said, I saw some of my teammates come over to me and pick me up, embrace me. And those words are exactly what I said. I immediately thought about my grandmama first, and then it was just like I woke up, and then the crowd was there, and I heard all the noise. So it was a very emotional day because like I said, I put a lot of pressure on myself to play well. Obviously, Steve Young, Jerry Rice, JJ.
Right.
I knew that I was starting to trend. I was starting to get better. I wanted to do a lot of great things. And so we all have those visions as a player of the perfect game. And obviously that was the opposite of a perfect game.
Right.
And like I said, you hear a lot of guys say it's cliche. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. And that's essentially what it was for me that day.
Wasn't a perfect game, but it was a perfect moment for you, T.O., winning that, catching that touchdown pass against the Green Bay Packers to advance in the playoffs. Always thought you guys were going to smoke the Falcons had Garrison Hurst not got hurt on the first play of the game.
Man.
I don't want to bring that up, though. I want to bring this up, though. Steve Mariucci joined our station earlier this week, and here's what he said about the catch against the Green Bay Packers.
Oh, he's crying on my shoulder. I said, quit getting your tears on my shirt here. I had to get him off the field. I had to go out there and drag him off the field a little bit because we were going to kick the extra point. I didn't want a penalty. And the place was going berserk, and he was berserk because he was so emotional. He was crying, and he was, like, beside himself, and he had to try to get a grip because it was such a huge play.
So it was a huge play. What do you remember about that moment, hugging your coach? And we know what happened afterwards with Mooch, and we don't need to get into that. But what do you remember about that, hugging your coach and hugging your teammates on the sideline?
Yeah, I mean, that was obviously part of that. And, again, like I said, I remember, JJ, obviously hugging JJ, obviously being in the arms of Mooch at that time. And again, like I said, for me, it was bigger than Mooch. It was bigger than really the Niners. Again, like I said, my faith played a big part in my success. And so, again, throughout the course of the day, bro, like, that could have gone the opposite way. If I wasn't as strong-minded and strong-willed as I was and really focused and faithful, again, I wouldn't have been able to make that catch. And so that's what those emotions were about. And honestly, like I said, being in that Bay Area, understanding the rich history and the tradition, trying to get another championship, which has been, very elusive for so many years. Like I said, obviously Harbaugh getting the team back to the Super Bowl, and obviously they didn't win it, but that's the closest they've been back to the Super Bowl since then. And so I wanted to be a part of that, man. It's unfortunate the way things kind of unfolded. I didn't really end my career there, but, again, like you say, the fans know, man, things happen throughout the course of a career, the times that, guys are at places. But for me, man, I know I'll always be a Niner, but I wore 4 other jerseys throughout the course of my career, and I just tried to play, with the God-given talents that God gave me, and so I tried to do that at every stop. And so obviously I'm very fortunate to have been drafted by the 49ers, played there 8 years, and man, hopefully this is the year for the San Francisco 49ers.
81vino.com. You can see it on our YouTube page right now. You can see the bottle. It looks beautiful.
Yep.
Go on there, order you some. And that thing looks
Use our
awesome.
promo code 49ers for 10%
Say
off
that again?
as well. Promo code 49ers get 10% off that
Perfect.
2018
And that's
Cabernet.
the Hall of Fame edition, too. We only have about 32 cases left. That's the Hall of Fame edition. So once this is out, it's a wrap.
I love it. I absolutely love it. All right, so yesterday, T.O., I'm looking at your timeline. I follow you on Twitter, on X, or whatever the hell it's called these days. and you're talking about the playoffs, and you're saying there are playmakers and then there are game changers, okay?
Yeah.
Can you differentiate the two for our audience?
Yeah, so obviously you got guys that are on the team that makes plays. That traditionally, they it's almost like the analogy or the simulation that Cam Newton was trying to make with, game managers, and playmakers in a sense. And so a playmaker, obviously you got guys that go out there, they make plays here and there, but then you have those special players that are on teams that you need to get the ball to. They're game changers. Mm-hmm. That would be your Christian McCaffreys, your Christian McCaffreys. He's a game changer. He's the X factor in order for your team to obviously kind of get over the hump and really make plays. A very integral part of your offense. I just happen to be, sometimes I kind of felt like I was kind of a little bit of both. I was a playmaker, but again, I was a game changer as well because, when your hands are on the ball, something special is going to happen. That's a game changer.
Brock Purdy, would he be a game changer or just a player who makes plays from time to time?
I would say he's a playmaker. I think he's a playmaker because he has to make the decision. He has to get the ball into the guy's hands to make those plays.
What about, I'm looking over here, I mean, you played for the Eagles, you played for the Cowboys, both those teams get eliminated. Yeah. Jalen Hurts, Dak, McCarthy, have at it. Have your Sirianni. What are your thoughts on the Cowboys bowing out and the Eagles bowing out? Because I'm happy. I'm thrilled.
We're smoking on that Eagles-Cowboys pack,
Yeah, I'm
T.O. We
thrilled.
are smoking on that Cowboys pack.
Well, I think you're along with a lot of people in America. You guys are all smoking that pack. Y'all got a 2-pack going on, a 2-for-1 special. With the Cowboys, honestly, I kind of expected that, and then that's just me being honest, and I kind of just take myself out of being a fan. I try to take myself out of the biases, but that organization is just not really run well. I think in order for that team to really win, there's going to have to be some front office, some hierarchy type changes. Probably starting with the owner and then maybe the GM. That's just me. But again, like I said, they're not going to win anytime soon. Back to the Eagles. Eagles, if you factor in the injuries, and when you get into the playoffs, that's, anybody knows, like, you win with sometimes the team that's on momentum and the teams that are playing that are the healthiest. Everybody knows this. And obviously, like I said, they weren't a healthy team.
What do you think about A.J. Brown as we're talking to Terrell Owens here on the Boxing Girls and Guest Line on the Morning Rose? Go to T.O., go to 81vino.com for the 2018 Cabernet Sauvignon Reserve. 32 cases left. Hall of Fame edition.
32.
Only 32 cases left. You better get them while it's hot right now. Use the promo code 49ers to get 10% off. A.J. Brown didn't seem like he was a big fan of that offense or a big fan of some of the passes he was getting or not getting in Philadelphia. What's your thoughts on him and his long-term future in Philadelphia?
Well, I mean, it's frustrating when you're losing. But I mean, they were on a 10-1 skid before they until they lost the last 6 of the last 7 or something like that. Again, when you're a part of an offense, and I was in that position where you're a big part of the offense and you're not getting involved or what have you. But a lot of receivers' success is predicated on play calling, and it predicated on the chemistry of the quarterback. Mm-hmm. And so for him, I don't understand why he would be complaining. Like I said, I'm not in that locker room. I don't really watch the games on an every weekend basis, so only he can answer the frustration in which he had. But up until like game 12, they were flying high. Mm-hmm. No pun intended. They were really flying high. But they started to have some injuries here and there, and that's what I was telling you. Going into the playoffs, two of those things that I mentioned hit them. The injury bug, and then they weren't really playing well. You got to play with momentum. And with this game with the 49ers, you're playing with a young team, and they're playing with momentum. So this could bode well for the Green Bay Packers. Hopefully the rest off, I said it could help because obviously Christian McCaffrey was hurt to getting him back to health. But again, sometimes when you're off for a couple of weeks or whatever, that could create a little bit of rust starting out in the games because you can't really simulate game type speed or tempo when you're not really playing full speed or in practice.
The combination of you and Jerry Rice is like up here, right? It's like all time. It's an unbelievable combination. There's been a lot of people talking here like you can't pay Debo and Ayuk. You just can't pay them simultaneously. As a guy that played with Jerry Rice, I mean, obviously there's a financial component here, but in terms of spreading the ball around and how that maybe opens up the field for you, was it better to play with another great wide receiver, or was it a little more difficult than people give it credit for?
For me, I didn't find it difficult because I think if you're playing within the confines of the offense, the ball is going to find you. And for me, I knew that I was second fiddle playing behind Jerry Rice, and it was that way for years. It was myself and J.J. Stokes, and at one point in time, it was me and Jokes. We were J.J. Stokes. We were jockeying for that wide receiver number 2. Mm-hmm. But essentially, like I said, when you're on the field with 3 great receivers, a number of playmakers, a number of great players that can make plays, then it's all about decision making and the quarterback's, just pre-snap read, matchups as far as where he's going to deliver the ball. And so for me, I was a benefactor of obviously the double team coverage that Jerry garnered, rightfully so. And I just had to make myself and be prepared every weekend. That's why I was able to amass the numbers and amass the success that I was able to achieve because of me being prepared. But when you think about, obviously the financial component, again, I never really fully got my just due as far as my market being paid, what I was garnered or should have been making throughout the market. So that was part of the reason I didn't end up in San Francisco, amongst some other things. But that's a good problem to have when you have receivers like Ayuk. You got Debo. Obviously, Kittles. He plays a tight end, plays a big part in the success of us guys outside because everybody. Sometimes your success and what you're doing, we can benefit on the others doing their job.
T.O., there's a lot of hating going on when it comes to Hall of Fame. You know it because you weren't a first ballot Hall of Famer for whatever reason.
Right.
The numbers speak for themselves. We watched you play your entire career. We both have 81 jersey. We cried when you moved on to Philadelphia and scored all those touchdowns. Then you went to Dallas and you did the same damn thing. Quietly, you had a great season in Buffalo. Then you go to Cincinnati, you have another great season. So we know a lot of hating goes on, especially if you don't win the big one. And so for this team with the 49ers, we're seeing Frank Gore. We don't know how long he's going to have to wait to get in the Hall of Fame, or Patrick Willis. He's been on ballots left and right. He still has to wait. How much does it impact when you don't come through in the playoffs? And individuals come through, but as a team, if you don't win that Super Bowl, how much does that affect the legacies of certain players like a George Kittle or Fred Warner when they do get up, retire 5 years after their career, whatnot, and it comes to that Hall of Fame vote? Because it seems like a lot is dictated during this month of January if you don't get it done.
You should be asking Dak Prescott and some of these Cowboys fans this. Again, it's really deflating. It's very disappointing,
right?
Especially when you're riding high. And these guys were at the threshold. They were at the door last year. And the unfortunate thing happened with the injury to Brock Purdy. So again, health is going to play a big key into the success of this team, barring any setbacks, barring any slow starts to a game, because with the Green Bay Packers, they're kind of playing with house money. And Jordan Love, he's playing with like he has nothing to lose, and that's dangerous. And you got a good coach over there that has a young team playing very, very well at an elite level.
Do they have a shot tomorrow, T.O.? Do they really have a shot against this Niners team tomorrow?
Bro, nobody thought they had a shot against.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? Hey, T.O., but you and I both know Dallas is mentally soft. They're mentally fragile. And you mentioned it.
I get that. And trust me, that coach, he's going to have this team prepared.
Yep.
I think I've seen a few clips. He knows that this game is going to really be physical. It's going to be a chess match between these two coaches. So it's going to be interesting. As I said, it's dangerous when you have a young team that really playing with house money in a sense. They have nothing really besides the game. They probably feel like they don't have anything to lose, and they're playing with a lot of momentum. Granted, yeah, they got to travel, but that coach is going to have that team really, really ready to play. And obviously for the Niners, they got to come out of that locker room lathered up, be ready to go from the first snap, from the first blow of that whistle.
T.O., I've seen you and Stephen A. going back and forth the last couple of years for a variety of things. And if you don't want to talk about Stephen A., you don't have to bring him up directly. But you and the media have always kind of had, things back and forth. From the player's perspective, what is the biggest issue with the media and how we talk about the games or the players themselves? Why is there such a disconnect? Because it does feel like there's, a lot of guys taking the media into their own hands, and rightfully so. And the audiences are craving the player's perspective. But it feels like the players are still ticked off at a lot, not all of them, and not all the media, but they're just frustrated.
There's a lot of Skip Baylesses out there and stuff like that who don't know what they're talking about.
What's the biggest beef, you think, from the player's perspective?
I think some of them, they can talk the game, but probably never played the game. And as it relates to Stephen A., a lot of guys that feel like they know things internally. They have a lot of anonymous sources, and that's not cool when you don't really know the player personally, or just know firsthand, like whatever the situation may be. What is transpired? Like, there's always three sides to the story. I tell people is their side, my side, and there's always the truth. And for me, I'm always about the truth. And anybody that knows me, there's no reason for me to lie about anything. But when you use your platform to obviously, in today's age, it's to gain a large audience, clickbait, things of that nature, giving factual information,
Right.
Feeding the audience, what they need to feed them without any full truth to it. I think that's where it tends to rub a lot of athletes the wrong way. And, Stephen A., he feels like he has, the heartbeat of a locker room or certain guys or whatever, but nobody's really feeling Stephen A. like that. He gets on his platform. He uses ESPN and his own personal platform to kind of expose some things. Even with me in our situation, he went on there and said, held up papers like he had something on me, like he was going to expose me. For what? But again, he's feeding that all the audience false information. I told him, I fired back. Show me what you have on me.
Right.
Whatever you got to expose me on, whatever those papers are, just kind of misleading that audience. I urge you to show people what you got on me because, again, I know I'm not perfect, but it's nothing near what you're alluding to, what you have on those papers as far as exposing me. So those are the type of things that's really off base for me. And it's personal. You're taking personal shots at me, and you're tinkering with my financial way or means of making dollars off the field because that's negative.
Yep.
And you're trying to tarnish, defamation. That's tarnishing, my image in a sense. And so those are sort of things that guys don't like. And so obviously with these media platforms, guys can go on and really go and address some of these things that are being told. For over the years, guys felt like they were suppressed. They felt like they didn't have a voice. I've always felt like I had a voice. I just chose to use it when I could. But if you ask any of my coaches, especially individual coaches that coach me, they'll tell you I'm probably one of the honest and probably the most unapologetic guys and honest guys you'll ever meet.
Yeah, no doubt. I know Stephen A.'s probably mad at you because you were signing with Max Kellerman because he was keeping it real. And then it's just kind of ironic that him and Whitlock are going back and forth together. But what about Cam Newton before we get you out of here? I like what Cam Newton's doing. I love the video he put out yesterday when they were trying to call him, look at the stats here. And he said, hey, I'm a dual threat quarterback. Tell the entire story. I think Cam Newton's onto something here, T.O.
No, he is. And I applaud. I think I may have kind of chimed in or posted a comment because, again, late last night because I saw that with Jason McIntyre.
Yeah.
And these are some of the things that, again, the fans get caught up into because they take whatever these commentators, these analysts are saying as biblical. And then they start to attack and mistreat or not like a player because they feel like they have inside information because they're on TV and as if they lie too. You know what I mean? They're human. They're not always telling the truth. And it goes beyond the scope of journalism, if you will. And so this is where, again, you start to, like I said, we can all dig into somebody's personal life and find something about them. But if you're going to hold a job and be journalistic, be truthful with the information that you're putting out there. And some information that they got that they give, it's not totally true, but it's almost like when you're trying to tell a story or you're trying to hide something without actually telling a lie. It's like you're lying by omission.
Right.
And that's essentially what some of these commentators, these analysts are doing. They're feeding the audience what they want to feed them, and the audience is doing nothing but buying into it.
Right.
It's just like the Dallas Cowboys. Every year, Jerry Jones feeds them. They're buying into them probably winning the championship. Jerry Jones, let me tell you, Cowboys fan, this. Jerry Jones is winning any way you look at it, win, lose, or draw, whether they win a championship for whatever time he has left on this earth, he's always winning because these players are going to fill that 100,000 seat stadium. They're going to buy that merch to make them the most richest team in America. They're going to do all those things. Guess what? The bottom line for Jerry is that money. He's always going to win, whether they win, lose, or draw. So it doesn't matter what they do. So these Cowboy fans, they can keep crying. The best thing they can do is boycott going to some of those Cowboys games for a number of years until they get to at least the NFC Championship.
Right. Well,
nothing's going to change.
They haven't done that since 1995. And hopefully, T.O., whenever you join this show, we love when you join the show. We try to keep it real every day. We try to do the opposite of what we see out there nationally. We understand the players make the game. We tell our stories based off what you guys do on Sundays, Saturdays, or Mondays, and we appreciate it. We always appreciate the time. T.O., man, you're great. We got to get you out here. How are you not out here to blow the foghorn tomorrow at Levi Stadium when you had one of the most memorable moments, my number one moment when it comes to Niners-Packers playoff history? How are we not out here in the Bay Area right now, T.O.?
Hey, man, I don't know, man. I don't know.
All right, man.
It's great to see you, buddy.
What we do know is you need to go get that 81 Vino, 81vino.com, the 2018 Cabernet Sauvignon Reserve from Paso Robles. Use the promo code 49ers to get 10% off the Hall of Fame edition. How many cases, T.O.? 32 left.
Yeah, it's about 32 or so cases left, man. So get it while the getting is good right now, man. And I appreciate you guys having me on. The game has always been special to me. You guys have always been fair. Do right by me, man. Appreciate it, and go Niners.
Let's go. Appreciate it. The Hall of Famer, Pro Football Hall of Famer, should have been first ballot, but he's in there, Canton, Ohio. T.O. here on the Morning Roast. Terrell Owens. Always good to hear from him. There's a lot to digest from that. He's with me, though. They ain't winning crap as long as Jerry Jones is running the show.